everyone. I want to welcome Brad Wylder from Wake Up Canada News, father of two girls out of Manitoba, Canada. Today, we are going to be talking about a questionable survey that came to his daughter's high school, which was mandatory. The only way that she could get out of it was by having a parent call in and having her removed. We're also going to be talking about where that poll came from, and we're going to be talking about Learning Bar Inc., which is a part of that. So just before we begin, I'd like everybody to subscribe to my Telegram, Twitter, Instagram channel at RH Media, standing for children. I want to welcome Brad to the show. Thank you so much, Brad, for coming on. And how are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm very well. It's been a long 2 years, 2.5 years now, since this C-19 started, and it's had quite the effect on our family, just like most families throughout Canada. It's been an up and down battle with the schools. Obviously, I saw through what was going on right away, and I basically made a decision at that point that we weren't going to participate. I'm not saying that the government doesn't do anything right for people, but I can tell you that when they start giving away $1 million prize to go and make this happen, that's where I drew the line and went, something else is going on here. So
yeah, absolutely. And those incentives are happening in the schools too, right?
They definitely are.
If children comply to wearing the masking or the other shenanigans that are happening, children are rewarded with candy, high fives, different programs, other things, if you comply to what the school is asking you to do.
Pizza was the one here too. Pizza. Yeah. And I mean, dangle the candy in front of the kids, right?
Yeah, it's terrible. So I want to talk about what drew us here today. You want to talk about, first of all, who you are. You're a father of two girls, and one is
actually a boy and a girl. I have a 15-year-old daughter and a 18-year-old son who's just graduated. Spent the last 2 years missing out on hockey at high school level as a captain of the team. It's been a
roller coaster.
It has. I'm trying to bite my tongue and hold my words.
Yeah. When it comes to our kids, that's hard to do, right?
It really is. And I haven't held my words like I am today quite as much with the school board trustees or the school principal or the hockey coach. I sit back and I question where their heads are at and how we've gotten to this level. It was my 15-year-old daughter who exposed this to me. Obviously, she's awakened as well. And, my whole family is, while I have relatives and other family members that are not awake, we're still hoping one day that they kind of catch on to what's really going on. But my daughter knew what she was kind of doing and knew what to do and say and react and act. So she played it very cool when they solicited the kids with this particular survey that comes out of the Learning Bar Incorporated. And we'll talk, obviously, like you said, about them in a bit. Mm-hmm. But the questions that were brought upon this survey and to my daughter's attention, she right away generated I'll say a level of interest, because the questions that they were asking were questions that I said, and my wife has said that, you just shouldn't be asking. Her grandparents said the same thing. Her other grandparents said the same thing. So it wasn't like we didn't ask around and go, what do you guys think of this? We could see it right away, but at the same time, we made sure to ask a few other people. And by doing that, we were able to see that the pattern was the same. This is not tolerated, should be irreprehensible.
Yeah.
Criminal, possibly.
Well, absolutely. What you told me is that they are disrespecting personal private boundaries from the survey that you were chatting about with me. So if we could go into the survey so the parents can kind of understand to the in-depth of the inappropriate, the crossing the boundaries, and the data that goes along with this and where it goes. So let's get into the questions.
Okay, so questions. The first question that she sent me, and she took pictures of of her laptop while she was going through the questionnaire, and there were more questions than what I'm about to present. And I need you to understand that it was 30 to 40 to 50 questions in the span of a 1 hour class to try to get done. Like you had mentioned, the teachers had said it wasn't mandatory, but then if your parents didn't call and keep you out of it, it was mandatory, and that you couldn't get out of it. So my daughter was caught in that position. I saw the email from the school board and I saw the email from the school principal, and I saw that we could have backed her out of it. But I thought, let her tell them.
Sure.
Let her say, I'm not taking this. You got the right situation going. Like my daughter, you know what to do. You know what to say. So handle it.
Good for
She
you.
said, okay, Dad, I will. And then she got into her drama class, and that's where the drama teacher spoke up and said, okay, you guys, if you haven't taken that survey yet, you guys need to get that done. So I'm giving you the class today to get it done. And if you don't, then somebody else later today is just going to make you take it in another class. So you better get it done. So my daughter was like, no, I'm not taking it. And teacher says, well, you're going to have to do it later in another class. And
Yeah.
my daughter's like, well, fine. So it was a pressure. It was a tactic. Everybody else in the room is going, oh, okay, let's do this. Not questioning or thinking about
Right.
what the real questions are or anything else. And I don't know if anybody really walked away besides my daughter with that kind of an opinion or attitude. These questions start to get into race, sexual, and a bunch of other stuff. So let's just jump right in, as you mentioned. So please indicate how much you agree or disagree with each of the following statements. In general, I like the way I am. I like the way I look. When I do something, I do it well. Overall, I have a lot to be proud of. A lot of things about me are good. I feel good about my ability to do schoolwork, and I feel good about myself. Now you get the chance to say strongly agree, disagree. Now that's just a simple one, nothing too major there,
Yeah, but
right?
they
But
want to see how confident these students are,
absolutely.
right? That's what they're checking. Are we going to be dealing with a student who's going to push back, or are we going to deal with a student who's compliant like all the rest?
That's very, very true. And we're going to find out which students are smart by the time this is over. We're going to find out which students are challenged, whether their parents are educated, whether their parents actually have a degree. And I'm just going to keep going with the
Sure.
questions. So the
Yes,
next
please.
question was, how often do your parents or other family members do each of the following? Ask me how well I'm doing with my schoolwork. Talk to me about problems I might have at school. Talk to me about why it's important that I do well at school. Ask me how well I'm getting along with kids at school. Show interest in my school projects and encourage me to do well at school. So listen, some of those questions, I don't have a problem with that. I
I
mean,
do.
okay, great.
I do. Because
You
they're
do?
checking to see how informed are these parents with the children's education. And the last, being a teacher myself, they didn't allow parents in the school. So how are you going to know what's in the school? Well, you got to have a conversation with your parents. Not a lot of parents know what's being taught because you can't
Very
go into
true.
school, you can't have parent teacher meetings, you can't even know what's in the hallways, in the bathroom, nowhere. So this is just to show how involved are your parents in your education? Are they checking on you?
It wasn't one of the questions that set me off. The next ones are.
Okay, let's hear
And
the other one.
but you're right on the money there. And anybody who comes home after the day of school and their parents say, oh, you're at dinner table having supper, and you will look over at your kids and you go, how was school today? Oh, it was good. What'd you guys take in school today? What'd you learn? Oh, we had to take a survey. Well, what was the survey about? So you start asking a few questions about that. You're going to get the answers to these kind of questions, not the questions that I'm about to present to you next. And
Okay,
that's the real issue here, is that some of these questions start to get into some pretty in-depth stuff.
let's hear them.
So now here's where we start. They're doing a basic check on the parents, as I mentioned. So which parents usually live at home with you? Two parents, one parent. I live in separate homes with separate parents sometimes, and sometimes with another, right? So again, just finding out what the dynamic is of the family. Then we would like to ask you about the education that both you and your parents received. We will ask you to respond with one parent followed by the other. We would like you to think about one parent first, and it could be a step parent or even a guardian, but think of them and then think of your other parent after that. Did he or she graduate from high school? Yes, no, I don't know. The next question: did he or she complete a trade or a community college diploma? Carpentry, plumbing, chef, administrative assistant? Yes, no, I don't know. Did he or she complete a university degree, such as a Bachelor of Arts, Education, Engineering or Science, Law, Nursing, or Medicine? Yes, no, I don't know. Now that's troubling. Okay,
That is
that's where I
troubling.
started to go, wait a minute here. So
They want to
moving,
know how well these parents are educated in order to see if parents are going to see the narrative and the stuff that's pushing in the school. They want to see how educated these parents are to catch on to what's really going on.
Exactly. So in your home, do you have a quiet place to study? Your own room? Your own computer or laptop? Do you have high-speed internet? Do you have computer software you can use to do your homework or projects? Do you have classic literature, for example, like Shakespeare in your house? Do you have a musical instrument, such as a piano that you or your family members play? Do you have fine works of art in your house, for example, paintings or sculptures? And do you have any books that help you with your schoolwork? Now,
Did they ask for a safe and the PIN number?
well, that I go back to the days of Germany and what went on with the Germans, and I go back to them wanting to know answers to those kinds of questions: paintings, art, books. What have you been educated on? How are you? How much of a difficult person are you going to be to us, the communists? So that really set me off. I was like, whoa, you're asking about fine art and works of literature and things like that. And I, again, they portray it in a way that makes it almost, well, yeah, we have beautiful art in our house and we have great books to read. And I have a whole encyclopedia. Well, like I said before, the smartest guy in the room is the guy with a phone now, because he's got Google and the internet, right? So books, whatever. But you're asking questions about, why don't you just ask me if I have any gold in my safe?
Or ask you what your bank account is and what you got in there.
Exactly. Next question came up that my daughter thought was relevant. In our society, people are often described by their race or racial background. Now, which racial group best describes you? And select all that apply, because I guess you could be feeling different today. So Black, East Asian, Indigenous, Latino, Middle Eastern, South Asian, Southeast Asian, white, or a racial group that's not listed above?
I know why they asked that.
Please fill them in.
Critical race theory, now that people don't know, it's actually part of the curriculum. It is a school board policy. And so if you know the cultural backgrounds of families in your province, in your school, then the critical race theory will be targeting those cultural backgrounds. Here in BC, I had to sit through 4 hours of mandatory racism. Kids are not born racist. They're taught to be racist.
That's correct.
And so we have 6 hours now mandatory in BC that all teachers have to do. And it's 2 hours of Indigenous, 2 hours of white supremacy, and the next 2 hours are Indigenous. So now they've got 3 cultures here in BC that they have targeted.
Yeah.
They're just expanding
absolutely
cultures of where to target.
Now, one of the things that, the city that I live in, we're very, very multicultural here. And I spent about 23 years in Alberta. Alberta's a very, well, they'll call themselves rednecks, and I guess me saying it isn't, unjustifiable. They're more of a conservative type farming and ranching community. They're men that are men, and the women take care of their men. So here in Manitoba, though, the things are looked at a whole lot differently. And I think one of the festivals that we have here, and it was just on the last couple of weeks, was Folklorama, where each independent race gets together. They hold a get together in their multicultural centers, and they put on their best food, their best costumes. They have their best entertainment going. They show their artwork, they show their culture, and they're proud of their culture. So you drive around the city, you buy a passport, and you go from place to place. We call them pavilions, much like you would have had at the World's Fair, right? So pavilion to pavilion, you go into the Italian one, you get a stamp in your passport. You go to the Ukrainian one, you get a stamp. You go to the East Asian one, you get a stamp, right? And you get to try and taste and be part of all that culture. And I believe that's a really good thing going forward. But driving culture diversity into the kids at a very young age is what I have a problem with.
I agree, because as being an educator, we've always had inclusiveness, trying to cover all cultures, embrace all cultures, and that is in the mission statement of the Vancouver School Board. That I make that as a mission statement, but when you go into the critical race theory, that now is a policy, it is a part of the curriculum. It's not just one segment of the curriculum. It's not just a one day here in language arts, we're going to be talking about it. It's embedded through all curriculum all year long. There I have a problem. But if you're embracing inclusiveness, multicultural, celebrating that, I'm all for that. I think it's wonderful because Canada is a multicultural country. But that's not the tactics that I'm talking about. When
No.
I had to sit through my professional development day and I have a slide on my phone that has a cross in flames, that's not professional development. That's not embracing Christianity. That's not embracing anything. That's to divisiveness, segregation, hatred, violence. I'm not teaching 5-year-olds that. There's no place in a classroom for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's go on with the rest of your survey because
so how do you describe your sexual orientation? This is where we start to get into sex now, obviously. Straight, lesbian, gay, bisexual, two-spirit, queer, or even in another way. I haven't heard of two-spirited before. Somebody else mentioned it, I think, today on Fox News, which kind of threw me. I was like, oh, somebody else said that term too. And it's us changing the English language on a daily basis with pronouns and coming up with different sexualities. Either there's a lot to learn, and we've all been missing out, or we just
it's a state of confusion.
It is a confusion. Yeah.
Confusion. Because if you're confused, I could come around and help you. I could get you out of that state of confusion. And we do see school staff doing that, pulling kids out of classrooms, counselors pulling them out and saying, you look really confused. Here, have you thought about this? I agree. There's no place in doing that.
Next, do you consider yourself to be lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and or it kind of got cut off there, so it might have been said transsexual, possibly. Yes or no, or I prefer not to respond was the answers that you had the choice to give. The next one was, do you consider yourself to be an ally of the LGBTQ2S plus community? Gotta memorize that, I guess. Again, I guess I do know what it means. I don't know what the 2S means, but okay. Or the plus sign. Your answer there is yes, no, I prefer not to respond. But then at the very bottom, it says gender expression is how you present yourself to the world. This can include your appearance, your voice, your talk, the way you talk. Is your gender expression mostly, and I don't know where the rest of that question went. There was
gender fluid, gender expression, how you walk, how you talk. They are asking children to question their own identity.
Absolutely. And to find out who has competence, again, like who's broken down, who's confused, who has mental struggles, issues like that. The last final one, I guess, or second final one. What is your religion and or spiritual affiliation? Select all that apply. Buddhist, Christian, Hindu, Jewish, Muslim, Sikh, indigenous spirituality, or no religion, or a box that allowed you to put another religion or spiritual affiliation. Please specify. So Catholic wasn't on there. Is Catholic a religion? We have a pope. We have probably the biggest religion on the planet, next to other cultures that have large populations, but the Catholic comes back to Jesus time, right? So again, I why aren't we on there?
Well, I know just hearing about those questions, they trigger a lot of emotions inside me, and a lot of bells are ringing. Alarm bells to what's the real agenda here? What's the purpose? Who's driving this? What's happening with the data? Are students actually answering this? So I want to ask you, when your daughter was faced with this survey, how did she feel about it?
She basically filled it out only to get past it. She did not give realistic answers by any stretch. She definitely lied on it, and I was fine with that, and I'm glad that she did. Do they know that she's lying? No. Did she kind of make herself look as though she's playing along with the indoctrination that's going on? Yeah, she did. And I told her flat out that sometimes you need to play along just to be able to be in the right place at the right time to get this kind of information.
Yeah. Well, it's great that your daughter actually came home and told you this, because there's so many kids who are coming home that don't tell parents, one, because they don't think it's not appropriate. They think it's, this is just how school is. And so that would not set alarm bells off for a lot of kids. They just think that's part of school, right? It's just a
You're right.
survey and they wouldn't know. But good for you. Kudos to you that you taught your daughter really well to listen to that intuitive feeling in her gut to say, something's not quite right here. And I'm going to let my parents know. And then you had a discussion about it.
Well, I took it farther than that. I took it to the superintendent of the school board. I questioned, see at the bottom of each of the questionnaire forms that are here, and you're not going to be able to see it on camera
Sure.
by any stretch, but it had the copyright logo with the Learning Bar Inc. And that's probably where we're taking this conversation
Yeah,
next
let's
is there. So
many people would think that a Learning Bar Inc. would have to be an education company. That's what it looks like.
100%. That's
But
exactly what you would think.
but it's not at all. So let's get into who is the Learning Barn Inc., who is behind it, who
Yeah.
founded it, and how long have they been around? And my question to you is, now that all these teenagers filled it out, you know how many students or schools have filled this poll out, right?
Yep.
You were at, was it 63,000 or
6,300 schools used worldwide. Okay.
worldwide?
Worldwide. Well, I shouldn't say worldwide. When I say worldwide, let me say that this particular information is based out of the well, first it starts here in Canada. I want you to understand that. The guy who created all this nonsense is from Canada.
Okay.
We'll go through his background in a bit, Dr. Wilms.
Yeah.
Second of all, he was able to get this company started, the Learning Bar Incorporated, and he did that in the United States. Then he went ahead and tied in Australia. So now we've got those three in there. New South Wales, I believe that Netherlands, I believe that Sri Lanka, I believe that Venezuela, Guatemala, and Ecuador are all a part of this as well. And the reason I say, I'll get to why I say that a little bit later on, but and we'll talk a little bit about the U.S. Government and how, not that they're necessarily involved, but their leaders are definitely involved in this because they've all been to Davos, and Davos does tie into this as well. Yeah. So as we go back, 6,300 schools use this particular survey.
Is
worldwide,
this year or last year? When was this poll taken?
This is since the very beginning. This started in 2015 is when this company originally registered. So it hasn't been around that long, but long enough to make a difference. So used by school, and again, we're both roughly the same age, even though that's silver. I can tell you that I remember taking surveys like this. They didn't have these kind of questions on them when we were kids, but I know that in our schools we did take surveys like this. And I don't know, I'd love to remember what company did that, but I think that was a true educational company back then versus where we're at today. So worldwide, 13 plus million students so far have been surveyed. We have 1 million students surveyed every single year. Every single year. So you reach grade 10, you're taking it. You reach grade 8, you might be taking it. You might be reaching it in grade 5. You may take it 3 or 4 times throughout the course of your whole education.
Yes.
I don't think they're presenting this in universities yet. But as you can see, that's a lot of big numbers.
Do we know where this data is going?
Well, that is a great question, and I asked that of the superintendent of the school division, and I was told that, well, it goes nowhere. It's kind of like just for us teachers to use. I said, so what? You sit around the lounge, the staff room, and you talk about whether these kids are transgender, gay, bisexual, what religion they are, and you make fun of them, or what do you do with this information? And there was no response. I'm not at liberty to discuss and all this BS, right?
It is BS because teachers don't have time to sit in a room and go through all these polls. It's actually
they don't.
Somewhere higher up: school board trustees, superintendent, education minister, someone who's yanking the chain
It's
much
going
higher
farther. It's going
than
farther than that. It's not even staying in Manitoba. Now we got to remember this is all internet. So
right.
my daughter asked, well, who's seeing this? And the teacher couldn't answer who was seeing it. My daughter says, well, you say it's anonymous, but it's not anonymous. If I'm doing it on my laptop and you know that my laptop is hooked to the school server sitting here, and you know that I have to have a special code to even
That's right.
log into my laptop, you
Mhm.
know what each student's response was. So don't tell me that you didn't know.
Yeah, nothing
You
was kept.
know, in this day of tracking and everything else, bull.
No, absolutely. You're 100% right. Anytime a student logs in from a school device, it's connected to a student number, and then I know the family
So
phone number, everything about that student.
right. But if I bring my own laptop from home, I'm still logging in through a special number
Yes,
that
you are.
hooks to the server at the school that allows me to have internet on that. And
That's right.
you're able to tell when you're able to tell when a
Yes, I am.
child goes on and looks at the wrong thing, like
Yes, I am.
porn as an example,
Yep.
and you're able to see all that.
Yes, I
So
am.
don't tell me that they didn't get this survey at each level. But where it's really going is back to UNESCO. Back to UNESCO. And UNESCO, we know through the world of
Klaus Schwab.
it's an evil world. It's an evil world with UNESCO, and I know that. And Klaus Schwab and Jeffrey Epstein and all that nonsense. It makes me angry, but I don't want to get into that aspect of it. People are going to have to search that out for themselves. And we both discussed earlier that we weren't going to delve into that topic as
But
much as
parents
we need to
need
talk
to.
about this. But people need to know that UNESCO is involved in this, and if they're getting this kind of information from our kids, and they're knowing not only about our kids but us as parents, that's where I have a huge, security concern, safety concern.
Yeah.
So UNESCO's efforts and commitment to achieve the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals in particular, which is part of the World Economics, big plan for the fourth industrial revolution, which calls on countries to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Now, UNESCO has brought to life different institutes around the world to address various areas of education. They've discovered that UNESCO institutes and together they're going to transform education for humanity. But with these kind of questions, I'm not sure exactly how they plan on transforming that for humanity, other than destroy humanity, destroy these kids, and keep them all guessing and questioning and in a mental state that is of confusion, utter chaos, and
You're keeping
yeah,
them
there's
in the
more.
state of fight or flight. That's the constant state that these kids are vibrating at.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this all started back in the USA, as I mentioned, out of Boston, Massachusetts, in terms of where this kind of got signed up and how this got to be. So the head office is in Boston, Massachusetts. They have a location in Fredericton, New Brunswick, right here in Canada. They also have an Australian office as well. So this is the Learning Bar Inc. offices. Now they're doing business as a Learning Bar Inc. The Learning Bar Inc. is located in Quito, Pinchina, Pinicha in
Something like that.
Ecuador.
Yeah, in Ecuador.
It's in Ecuador as part of other schools and instruction industry. The Learning Bar Inc. has a total of 4 employees across all of its location. 4. And it generates $1.82 million in sales. 4
Wow.
people, 1.8.
Wow.
So they don't pay you to make your kids do this at school, but they sure take home a pretty profit, don't they, to get you to do the work.
To collect all the data on you.
Yep. Now, providing innovative solutions to increase educational prosperity for all children is what they're all about. The Learning Bar works with communities around the world to give children the opportunity to thrive using solutions. Educators and families know that what they can do and how they can help make a difference to a child's learning and well-being. And learning is one thing, well-being is another. Okay. And I don't know that they need to be treading on that. I mean, we can hire counselors for that if that's what's needed in our lives. Our solutions are part of the educational prosperity framework, a framework that is focused around giving all children the opportunity to thrive. So, sounds like they're really dedicated into giving our kids,
The best.
more,
Yeah.
but know your impact. Then grow your impact is what they say. Do you know all the areas of your school climate that are affecting your students and the success and their well-being? Reducing vulnerability and improving outcomes requires having the right information at the right time to make informed decisions. Feedback from parents and caregivers to teachers and students provides an accurate and complete picture of a school climate and culture. Now, the Our School Parent Survey, and it's a survey for us parents that I dare them to send that to my desk. We'll see. Can aid in strengthening parent-teacher relationships and school collaboration by providing schools with a deeper understanding of parents' perceptions of their child's experiences, both at home and at school. So you want in here, they want to come into my home and they want to disrupt the family,
the family dynamics, the attachment,
the dynamic,
the beliefs, everything. They want to destroy it.
That's correct.
And they wrap it up in a pretty little bow to make it look like, hey, we're doing this for your well-being.
Yeah.
That's garbage.
So the survey for us parents, as an example, are the following topics. So do parents feel welcome? Do parents feel informed? Are parents supporting learning at home? Support for learning, support for positive behavior, feeling safe at school, inclusion, parent participation at school, bullying and exclusion, time spent doing homework, capture the voice of your entire school community to guide school planning. Our schools help you design interventions specific to your school based on concrete data, ensuring a positive school climate for your students' learning and personal growth.
I don't know one school that actually has any of that. None. You got teachers bullying students, you got students bullying students, then you got teachers talking about inappropriate sexual things, and they're crossing boundaries, hijacking these kids' critical thinking, subconsciousness, respect, dignity with this gender pronoun nonsense, because it is nonsense.
Absolutely.
And they make it look like, oh, we want to be your best friend in education. I will tell you as an educator, parents were not allowed in our school for 2 years. The front door of the school, which is supposed to be an open door policy, was boarded with a table.
Right.
Parents weren't even allowed to use the bathroom. And now this thing is saying, oh, we welcome you in the participation. That's a big fat lie.
Exactly. They wouldn't let me into the school board meetings to be part of that. They wouldn't let us, even they had online meetings for a whole year and we never got to even be part of it. We got to watch the Zoom meeting, but we raised our hands and they wouldn't let any of us speak. Not one, not one.
That's to get you connected to AI, get AI in the classrooms, get everybody adjusted to AI, meaning student to teacher when the schools are locked down, getting kids used to the AI. That's the World Economic Forum. When you go on the World Economic Forum, you can see how education is being infiltrated by the World Economic Forum as young as grade 4 and younger. Parents need to wake up to this.
Yes, I agree with you 1,000%. And that's why I'm here today, is to make sure that, when I heard about your efforts, I knew that I had to contact you because I knew you probably hadn't heard of the Learning Bar Inc. before. And even as a teacher, you would have not even seen it. It would have passed by your eyes. You would have assumed it's an educational company. You wouldn't even needed to do any work based on the way that the name presents itself. But here we are today, and I know way more. So let's get into some more stuff here, which is this corporation was founded in Delaware. It started here in Canada, though. And I'm going to lead back to the guy that kicked this off here in Canada. But the Delaware connection is something that leads me to, Joe Biden had said something recently on Delaware has the highest number of businesses in the country, possibly even the world. So why is it that these businesses go to Delaware, and why is it that they get signed up in Delaware? And why did this guy this Dr. Wilms from New Brunswick move his ass down there and do what he did there, which was sign up?
Because criminals are protected.
That's correct. Filing type is a foreign business. There's no other, it doesn't say educational or anything else. It just says foreign business. It was filed back in 2015 in the state of Delaware, in the county of Albany, in New York. And it was done on August the 10th, 2015. So again, not that long off, not that far off ago. Key financial highlights to this company: they have an annual growth percentage for the last 2 years. Their total operating revenue is up 2,100%.
Well,
2,100%.
everything else is inflating, losing money, businesses are collapsing, and these
Yeah,
guys are just making a pretty penny.
correct. The rich get richer. Operating profit of 84.84% and climbing. Net profit loss for the period up 87.8%. Total assets minus 0.27%. Total equity minus 1.33%. Both dropped and reduced on equity. ROE, return on investment, is negative 9.61%. So again, it paints a little bit of a picture there. Let's see here. So we're going to get into Dr. J. Douglas Wilms. This guy has several other names, which again, they're similar, but he doesn't go by the same name all the time. So in some of his books and some of his educational studies, his papers and all of that, sometimes he went by Dr. J. Douglas Wilms. Other times he's gone by J.D. Wilms. Sometimes he's just gone by Douglas Wilms. But there's a few names there that he throws around, and I'm not sure if it's to create a little bit of
I think it's a harder time to do the paper trail, right?
Yeah, you're
right?
creating that alias,
Yeah.
right? And you're trying to hide yourself, but you're not. You're being open. Well, no, I just put my initials on that one. Again, an escape route, right? An escape route, because if somebody catches me, oh boy.
Oh, that wasn't me. Yeah.
So this guy was the title of the Canadian Research Chair in Literacy and Human Development. I will let you know that his background is very, very huge. He has a lot under him, from the University of British Columbia to being an academic work discipline, literacy, and human development coach. He's sub-discipline student assessment, school composition, student achievement, monitoring school performance. Institutions have included the University of New Brunswick, the University of British Columbia, the University of Edinburgh. Notable works vulnerable children there with that one. Findings from Canada's National Longitudinal Survey of Children and Youth. He's the founder and the president of the Learning Bar Inc. He is a member of the U.S. National Academy of Education as well. He's a past president of the International Academy of Education. He's a fellow of the Royal Society of Canada. Wilms was a professor of education in New Brunswick from 95 to 2018, where for 8 years he held the Canadian Institute for Advanced Research Chair in Human Development for 14 years, and held the Tier 1 Canada Research Chair in Literacy and Human Development as well. He graduated from Royal Military College here in 1972 in Canada with a Bachelor of English. He has in engineering, Bachelor of Engineering in Engineering Physics, pardon me. And after a brief career as an officer of the Canadian Armed Forces, he pursued a career in education. He received a teaching certificate in special education in 1975 and an MA in educational philosophy from the University of BC. He subsequently taught at the elementary school level and university levels before pursuing further graduate training at Stanford University, where he received his MS in statistics, an educational specialist degree in program evaluation, and a PhD in education. From 83 to 95, he held various positions with the University of Edinburgh in England, where he became the honorary senior research fellow in 1988, and the University of British Columbia, and at the University of British Columbia, where he became a professor in 93. Throughout his career, he's been a regular constant with the World Bank, OECD, and UNESCO, as well as the Inter-American Development Bank and Statistics Canada, too. In 2004, Wilms co-founded the Learning Bar Inc. So this didn't come to be until 2004 is when he co-founded this, with the aim of bringing research on children's development and assessment into wide space practice. The company employs over 70 staff in its Canadian and Australian offices, providing research and assessment services in several countries worldwide. The company's flagship products are the Early Years Education Confident Learners and Our School Tell Them From Me suite of school surveys. So they have more surveys out there than just this one. There's several, and your kids may be taking several surveys throughout the year, and you as a parent, you've got no idea whatsoever.
But they're the ones doing it, so I'm assuming that they're the ones that are collecting the data.
I agree.
Which
I would like
UNESCO is United Nations. right?
Yes,
So I had read in some of your notes, DARPA is also in this.
that's correct.
Um, World Economic Forum. So by logical sense, by you and I having some critical thinking here, that data would sit with them. That would make sense. This guy's background, he's got his hands in everything. He's got his hands in that would be daycare, preschool, because that's early learning.
Correct.
Then he's got his hands in elementary, high school, and he's got his hands in college and universities. He's got a wide space of the whole bar. But this is where I disagree with how the government has been going into schools telling parents how to parent. And they're doing that with these surveys.
Yep.
They're infiltrating families to say, you know, we're going to be the parents that are overriding your rights, and we know what's best for your child. We see it coming. And now they're being so blatant as to telling you to your face. Parents are saying, it's part of curriculum. Don't like it? Leave. But we're not pulling your kids out. You can talk to us, you're blue in the face. And they're not respecting what parents' wishes are. So what I want to say is the information that you've been sharing, when parents are listening to this, what would you suggest that parents can do with all of this information? What actions could you suggest they take, or what actions you have taken that maybe they could do as well?
Well, that's a great question. I've fought with the superintendent. I've fought with trustees. I've served notice of liabilities on everything that's gone on. Obviously, there's a wide range of issues, and one of the things that we all kind of need to do from here forward is we've been infiltrated, and I know that you believe that as well. We've been infiltrated by the left. The left have gotten themselves into positions of power. These are the same people that. Let's face it, growing up in the 70s, kids weren't always polite with each other, and that bullying that went on back there is different from the bullying today. You made friends the next day when you got in a fight, or you poke fun at somebody. You'd always kind of have that, moment where you'd make up and everything would be fine. Well, that's not happening in today's world. So
segregation, division is happening on the school bus, in the classroom,
right,
outside, in the community, in their sports teams.
That's right.
And people are losing the ability to socially, humanly connect.
Correct. And that's the communication that they're sucking out of this all. And they want it that way. That's WEF's plan. The less we communicate, the more we fight. And the more we fight, the better off depopulation of this planet will happen more rapidly. And that's their ultimate goal. And I know you know that. I have it on my show every day that, we're talking about all kinds of issues with the WEF, with Justin Trudeau, with what's going on here in Canada, from Chrystia Freeland to Jagmeet the terrorist. Mm-hmm. It's concerning for all Canadians. I told you yesterday, the only reason I'm in this fight is because that my grandfather died for the military here in Canada. And that is something that I just can't let go.
Yeah.
He's probably rolling in his grave, right? And I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to say no, and I won't sit in the corner and not come out with a fight. So Absolutely. They want one, they got one.
Yeah. No, I encourage parents, don't just ask about how their day is, because you're just going to get a flippant answer as, oh, my day was good. Ask more questions.
Correct.
What course did you do? What subject did you do? What guest speakers did you have come into the school? What books did you read? Start asking questions. Did you talk about gender today? Did you have any forms that you filled out? Because they don't have to tell you what they do on a daily basis, meaning the principal, superintendent, vice principal, principal. They don't have to tell you anything. They keep you in the dark, and that is all by design. It's all by design and control. At the end, I would like to ask you this before we wrap out.
I want to answer your previous question, because I really didn't get to that. I'm sorry I didn't get to that. But ultimately, I don't know what to do. You're going to have to do your own research. You're going to have to look this stuff up. You're going to have to educate yourself to be better educated than the people you're about to go up against. You need to know what the facts are. You need to know that they're infiltrating your school systems. You need to know that you have the power, and the power is not just from one, it can be from the many. And there are many of us. There is hope. You are not the only one thinking, holy cow. There's many of us thinking that. And when we all get together, we're a whole lot stronger than anything that these guys have ever seen before. And we are going to be able to destroy this and stop this from being part of our curriculums going forward. Now, the other thing that's coming up for most of the school boards all throughout the country, get in there, get your name in,
Oh, yes.
get in there, become a trustee. Yeah, become a trustee.
October 15th. On the show, we are going to have Barry Newfield, who is the school board trustee here in Chilliwack, who is going up for re-election. He's the only school board trustee who is fighting for our kids.
See, one out of how many though?
Out of one many, but we're hoping that him will get other trustees, other educators to start to put that seed in, to look at some things, to question some things, to stop going with the narrative. Because if teachers, superintendents, vice principals stop this, who's going to be there to teach it? Nobody. It stops with them, just like the doctors and nurses who have risked their paycheck, their livelihood. It stops the same with educators.
Yeah, and
it stops.
I want the educators, the teachers that have walked away, much like you have, and the doctors and the nurses that have walked away. There's going to come a time where you guys are going to be back in control of things. You guys are going to be welcomed back to your jobs. It's not going to be just too bad and we're not going to rebuild this. This rebuilding is going to come from good people like yourself and other people who are like-minded and other people who have an understanding of how we got here and where we need to go to from here, because we can't go back to here ever again.
No.
This is our one chance in life to make sure that my kids, your kids, their kids, our grandkids.
Yeah.
I'm not fighting for me. My life is 3/4 over. I'm fighting for the kids that are coming next and the children that my children have and their children.
Yeah.
And that's my only goal here. I'll stand up to fight just like my grandfather fought for me to be here. So,
thank you for your fight. Thank you for speaking up. Thank you for raising incredible kids who can see what's being put in front of them. They have that critical thinking to go, something's not quite right here. And so much of that is shut off in kids in schools right now. It's totally hijacked. They lost that gut feeling of, I'm not quite liking this. These questions are inappropriate. So kudos to you for raising a daughter who can see that, calls it out, and has a conversation with her parents at home to say, hey, this is what happened today.
Thank you. She's my world, and my wife and her have a great relationship as well, and that we're all here in the same house. So it's something that we try to make sure that the education that they're receiving from school is not the only education that they're going to get. Life lessons happen on a daily basis for all of us. I've been a hockey coach for over 20 years, and the lessons that come with hockey can also, work into your own daily lives as well. There's so many life lessons along the way, whether it's on the ice or off the ice. Same thing, whether it's in the home or out of the home. Those lessons, as long as you're a proactive parent who explains the why, and the why is the biggest thing. When you hear a 2-year-old or a 1-year-old or a 5-year-old, why are they always asking why? Because they want the answer. They want to be educated and know. So why not tell them? Why hold anything back? Did I treat my kids like kids when they were kids? No, I definitely didn't. Did I treat them like adults? Yeah, maybe a little bit too much at times, where I have the long conversations that, educates them so that they get the right thing in their brain. But again, all of that education starts with us as parents.
Yeah.
And we have to start looking at our educators, and we need to start looking into the educators' portfolios of how they got to wanting that position and getting into that position. Because I tell you what, the questions that need to be asked, and again, those people are, did I say those people? I didn't mean those people like Don Cherry. Let me first apologize for that, because that's not what I meant. But the left really does infiltrate well, and they've done that to the school system, the judicial system, the parliament, the government. They've done it all over the place. We have business leaders now that have been brainwashed into believing everything that the government has done for the last 2 years. We have businesses still demanding mask wearing and mandating the QR codes showing when you get to the door, and all that stuff. And it just, we're going uphill against a battle where these people have already settled into top positions, and we need to somehow get in there ourselves. And going in there and fighting with them all on a regular basis isn't necessarily going to be the thing to do. This isn't about strength in terms of this.
Physical,
It's
no,
right here.
strength of
This is
mind.
about changing their mind, and again, educating them enough to give them the proper tools to make them start questioning. As long as we make people start questioning what we're talking about, they go look for themselves, and they'll find out that what we're saying actually has validity, actually has depth, actually has, an understanding of what's really going on. And once you figure that out, you're going to keep looking and searching. And as a broadcaster, that's what I've done for my whole life. And as a teacher, you're only out for the best of the kids. And while you say you're out for the best of the kids, I've heard other teachers use that same line, but those other teachers, they're using the shit like this that's coming off of these kind of surveys. And that's the part that pisses me off. So
I thank you for bringing all of this to our attention and sharing with us what you found. The Learning Bar Inc. I am going to put your pictures that you sent me out for people to see, because there might be some other, I'm sure there's lots of parents who didn't even know their child got the survey, or maybe there were some questions at home. They didn't fully understand it. They didn't understand who created the data, who the person is in the background history. And once parents have these discussions, they should get angry. But with anger, I want them to take action. Go to your city councilor, go to your MLA, go to your MP, go to your superintendent, go to the board of trustees, election coming up, and vote in the ones who are standing for the parents and the teachers. Because I'll tell you what, all the board of trustees in their code of conduct, which I ask every parent to look up, they are supposed to be looking out for your best interest. They're the ones that decide on the curriculum. They're the ones to decide on the materials. They have the main decision on what comes in the school, and that's not happening. Someone else is yanking their chain, and it's overriding them, and it's just happening regardless.
Yep. Do your homework on every single candidate that's out there. You need to get into their back pocket, as they say. I'm not looking for you to follow the money. I'm looking for you to follow what they've done, what their belief system is, because I tell you what, their belief systems are being transferred into our school system, and they are not necessarily part of what is supposed to be happening in our education in this country. And it starts at the university levels, college levels, elementary, high school, it's all over.
Yeah, they are totally hijacked parents' children's minds, heart, beliefs, rewiring it, shaping it. And I say to parents, who should be shaping your child's values, beliefs, and mind? Should be you.
That's correct.
Not the government, not the teacher, but you. And you have to start upholding that, standing up for that. It's okay to be uncomfortable, stand in that space, be firm. But there's so many other parents just like you who feel the same way as you do. And I know they're in your community. I know they're in your school. And just start having those discussions, come together as a group and take action.
So start a private channel on Telegram, start a private channel on Facebook, get your private channel going, get your group collected, get those individuals to start gathering together, start having a couple of meetings here and there, start doing Zoom meetings if you want to, start communicating. It's the biggest part of this whole thing going forward is communication. If to win this at the end of the day, we have to communicate with the left, and the left, they're going to keep pushing back and pushing back. But I tell you what, that communication from us, if we don't say anything, they win. They flat out win. So stand up for yourself, stand up for each other, stand up to be Canadian, be proud to be Canadian.
Brad, I want to thank you so much for coming on today and sharing with all of us on the important information that's happening, where parents can learn more. I will make sure that's in the description box, all the pictures that you've sent, that parents can look at these surveys, have discussions with their families. And who knows, maybe later we'll have you back on and we'll have more discussions about what else is happening in the school, other conversations that come up. Just want to thank you for being the dedicated father that you are and bring this all to our attention. So
you're very welcome. Thank you very much.
Subscribe to Wake Up Canada News at, where can we find you? BitChute, Rumble, where can we find you?
So we're on BitChute at Wake Up Canada News. Just type it up in the search. You'll see we're approaching our 100th episode shortly here. And with that, hopefully comes a couple of sponsors to help keep it all going forward, because I think we're a long ways from this being over.
Yeah, but we win.
We win.
We win.
We win. The end of the day, we will win. There's no other way around it. The Germans didn't win, and Klaus isn't going to win either. And his evil plan is being foiled by people like us who continue to preach. Justin tries to silence us. He's going to continue to silence us with Bill C-11. And I'm not going to permit that either. That's, again, the day he said that I couldn't do this was the day I started doing this.
Absolutely wonderful. Brad, I want to wish you a wonderful day. Thank you for coming on, and we'll touch base soon. Bye for now.
One thing, remember, you're the voice.
Yes.
Time to speak up.
Absolutely.
Take care. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.